Okay, good morning and welcome. Good morning. Today I'm going to talk about Houdini. It's one of the coolest things that ever happened to me. More or less, well, at least in my professional career. So I want to thank Side Effects for the invitation. It's really cool to be here and to be able to talk about this. What I'm going to talk about today is more like a beginners to intermediate thing. It's about some procedural concepts within Houdini. And it's for people who want to start using Houdini and the ones who want to explore the possibilities for creating procedural characters in Houdini. So thanks for having me here, and on with the show. So I work at this great place called Qvisten Animation, and for the last 30 years, Qvisten has been making commercials, interactive experiences, games, rides, and what we are most known for is animated features, with some of the most well-known IPs from the northern countries. And we have been doing this for 30 years. We have made 29 feature films. We are 80 employees, and here is our 30th anniversary reel with some of the work by my amazing colleagues. So, on with the show.
Velkommen ombord på badebussen. Masse liv, snakker flere tusen typer sukkertøy. Helt så gøy, helt så kjempegøy. Vi danser og fester, elefanter og hester. Ta med besten og besta. Vi skal bare. Her er vi igjen. Varsko her, gidder ikke tute. Det var det bussen. Ikke lov å bade med tissen ute. Snipp, snapp, snute. La flasken uten sprute. Det blir kryss, klass, kruse. Bussen ned i rute. Saft, suse. Showbokane bruse. Det går snipp, snapp, snute. Eventyret ute. Hvem tripper på min bror? Vi skal bli feite, skal bli stor. Har ei høne, har ei mus og ei løve og en pus. Drikker saft, drikker brus. Flokken kjenner flus. Her er vi igjen. Varsko her, gidder ikke tute. Det var det bussen. Ikke lov å bade med tissen ute. Snipp, snapp, snute. La flasken uten sprute. Det blir kryss, klass, kruse. Bussen ned i rute. Saft, suse. Showbokane bruse. Det går snipp, snapp, snute. Eventyret ute.
Det kan ikke gi oss noe.
So, my name is Roy. I'm a lead 3D artist at Qvisten, and it's called Qvisten XTND. And Qvisten XTND is a part of Qvisten Animation, and what we do is, with the fine words is visual storytelling powered by technology. So what we do is we do commercials, we do games, and we do interactive experiences, and everything else but features. But that's not entirely true, because now we're also animating a feature in Unreal. So So I am mainly responsible for everything else but features. And today I'm going to talk about a different kind of pipeline, which is then powers into this kind of working method. And it's model, rig, and animate. And it's Houdini, which is a character powerhouse. And it's a concept which is used all the time. And it's a concept which is based upon that you model something in Houdini, you rig it at the same time, and at the same time you rig it, you can also have procedural animation. And this stems from this day-to-day challenge. This has been my life before I found Houdini 3 years ago. this was my day-to-day challenge. And that is this. You model a character in your regular DCC, you send it to the client as an OpenGL thing, preferably gray. Your look dev, rigging, and blend shapes cannot be done yet before the model is set in stone. Because of this, the client is having a hard time improving the shape and the proportions of the characters because of limited shading, posing, and lighting. And why is it in such a strange pose? And will it ever smile? And what am I actually paying for? And this is always the client's feedback. Always, always, always. Why does it look so weird? Why is it in a T-pose? Why is it so stiff in its eyes? All those kind of things. So you get a client feedback based upon that. You remodel it and you lock down the shapes. Now you can finally texture, skin, rig, and look dev it. And you send it to the client for final approval. But client doesn't like the latest update, and the marketing department has some good latest suggestions and some extra stuff that you need to incorporate. So you have to remodel, re-rig, reskin, and it's an endless amount of back and forth. And it's a pain. It's like Bogdan said yesterday, it's a pain. So the deadline is ticking, and you have to work overtime, and the sunny weekend is now gone because there is tons of work to be done. And all this led to the discovery of Houdini as my preferred choice of software, and we also use Unreal for animation. But what? Houdini for modeling, rigging, and animating characters? What? It's unheard of. Houdini is amazing at VFX, not character work, right? No, Houdini is amazing at character work. And the mission that I had was to make a simpler pipeline, a pipeline that could turn quickly on its feet to the demand of the client's requests, and integrate procedural texturing for easy look dev, deliver characters that had a full-blown control rig and with all the blend shapes of a regular film character. So how would you approach that? Then it's Houdini to the rescue. Using Houdini's procedural tools in conjunction with Unreal, we now have a pipeline that will deliver a character that has all the standard bells and whistles of a full-blown film character. We also gain the flexibility to do whatever the client wishes for and still be efficient and on time. So I'm gonna go a bit back and then show you some characters. These characters here are more or less modeled procedurally, either rendered in Karma or in Unreal, more or less procedurally made in Houdini. Some of them are some universal meshes, which just has some ZBrush sculpting on them. But this here is entirely procedurally created directly from Houdini, where I rig and model at the same time. The same thing with these. This is our first venture when making characters for Unreal. They are also procedurally modeled in Houdini. This is a tutorial that I made to get students into Houdini. This is my version of the donut tutorial. This is a simple character for an interactive game that we did for a museum. These are two characters made for our glasses company in Norway. These are also made entirely in Houdini, procedurally modeled. This is also procedurally modeled with some sculpting tools on it, made entirely in Houdini with all the fur and whatnot. This is rendered in Unreal. And this is also a character for another project, which is one of the first. This was my first intro into modeling semi-procedurally in Houdini. The character is a universal mesh, so that is something that was sculpted upon, but all the other things like shoes and jackets and hats and whatnot is made procedurally after the fact, and everything just refits itself to the body, and I will show you how I did that in a while. Same thing here. Universal mesh with clothing and everything else made in Houdini. Texturing, everything. Texturing his cops. An evil witch. Everything there, same thing. Cloth, everything made in Houdini, except for the face, which is sculpted in ZBrush. But it's also from another version, or an older version of Houdini. It's from 19.5, I think, and there wasn't any sculpting tools then. But now I would just make that face in Houdini with the sculpting tools that are there. It's not ZBrush, but they're very good. So, model rig animate, concepts and tools. First, we start to model. And by using something that we call a universal mesh. And that's one mesh to rule them all. And it's this. It's a standardized mesh, which just has enough poly group information into it, which is so that it can deform to almost any character, any bipedal character. You can't make like the most extreme things, but this mesh here was used for the three latest characters that you saw: the princess, the witch, and the character with the egg kind of head. Tons of UDIMs and tons of groups, so that we can do selections when we do our modeling session afterwards. I have a setup where I can where I rig my character before I start to model it. And it's just to, all this is very extreme though, and it's not something that you would use in production in terms of the quality that it puts out, but or the proportions that was put out. But I use this to get a fast proportion and to start and sculpt and do work from there. So again, this is also from 19.5. This is where I transfer my ZBrush sculpt to the universal mesh, so that all the blend shapes and everything will transfer over properly. And then I use the selection sets, or the groups that I showed you earlier, so that the eyes will have proper blinks and they will all stay in the same place, and things will not be ruined by moving things accidentally within modeling. Simple tools like select an edge, generate an eyebrow. It's super simple, but it gets you there. You always need an eyebrow, so why not make a simple tool for it, so that you can send something very, very quick to the client. And since this is based on universal mesh, if I remodel the face, everything will just follow. Like everything in Houdini. Everything in Houdini is procedural, as long as you use groups and selection sets. I have the same for eyelashes, where you can control the amount of lashes, the shape of the lashes, everything. And still, if it's not like perfect at the start, at least you have lashes, and you have them early in your modeling production, so you can send the VIP quick. I have an eye generator, which has been very painful to model by hand, but with the power of Houdini, I can just. This here will always ray to a sphere, so whatever I do here, with the iris and with the pupil, everything will just be 100% round all the time. I have a thing for teeth, so that you can adjust that if you want to. All the settings and sizes and proportions and whatnot. And also, if you see clearly, if you look closely, you can see that the gums on top of or the connection between the teeth and the gum, there's like this spherish thing, so that you get that also. So then you can make a VDB and then convert it to a proper geometry afterwards, after you have this setup up and running. Yeah, and here I generate clothing from the model. And this is based upon a concept which actually stems from ZBrush, where you have where you generate a mask from a geometry, and you extract that mask, and then you generate a new geometry from the body, and then you can start modeling cloth. So what I do here is that I use tons of clip nodes. Here also add fur very easily, which is also very easy to do. Just use a bunch of clip nodes, keep everything procedural to a point. And what's also really cool about this, I think I'm gonna set it to pause a bit. Does it do that? Let me see. What is really cool about this is that, okay, I clip like the different parts for the clothing, and I get these sewed parts so that I can get the front and back and all those things. But the clothing is procedural for quite a long time. And what's really cool about it is that when the client says that, okay, I want to change the proportions of this character, then everything will follow. All the clipping and everything will just follow. So if it gets fatter, or if it gets taller, skinnier, whatever, it will generate new clothes based upon the model which is beneath. But at the end, everything can't be procedurally. So at the end here, I send it to ZBrush. Would have sent it to the sculpting tools, which we have now. But I sent it to ZBrush for some modeling because it needed that. And at the end, you'll have a shirt. Same thing for the pants. Everything is just based upon the universal mesh we generate. Make pockets, make seams. And at the end, it's not procedural anymore because you need some extra detail. But still, you have a pant. And you have a pants very, very quickly, so that you can send something to the client very, very fast. Also made a procedural shoe for the sake of it. So this also fits to the feet. And this here is one of the cool things about using Houdini. Can you move this? And that is the extraction of blend shapes. Because you use this universal mesh here, you feed the new mesh in here, and then you make a difference between those two meshes on all the blend shapes. So what you get then is that you get all the blend shapes that you originally had on your universal mesh for free. They're not perfect, but you get them instantly for free. So that you can have your character smile when you send it to the client. You can have it be sad. You can do all those things without making your own blend shapes. They will just follow along. So within a week, plus minus, we have this. And it's posable. It could have been animated, but it was still in KineFEST. But if it was Apex now, we could add some animation to it. And sending this instead of the gray thingy that I was used to send is just totally something different. Houdini is also great at hair and fur, and one curve to rule them all. That's not the truth, though, but it's not the same thing, but I just had to write it. So, we have this scalp that we generate hair on. We ray it to the character that we needed to be put on. Generated loads of curves for different parts of the hair. Do the usual hair generate stuff. Do all sorts of post-processing for each of the parts. And voila, you have some hair. And after getting used to it, it's really, really good to work with hair in Houdini. It's awesome. This is another project where we had to do some hair and fur on a character. This is a bit more detailed, perhaps, with all sorts of stuff added to a regular character, but Houdini is awesome at this. It's very enjoyable, and what's cool about it also is that if now the client wants to see something else in this character or something else about the proportions or whatever, as long as we had the same mesh, all the hair and everything will just follow, and it will generate it automatically. Cops, Houdini's substance designer. More or less, it's not substance designer yet, but in 21 it will be, I've been told. So, but it's an amazing concept from side effects where you can have procedural texturing within Houdini. And this was the first time I used it. So I needed to make a dress with a pattern, and it was like, okay, what did you say? Does it sample geometry? And then I can take that geometry and put it to a texture? And it was like, yes, you can. So what I did was that I modeled the pattern. I modeled the pattern procedurally in Houdini, and it'll soon pop up. So if there was anything wrong with the flower, it had a few petals or less or more or whatever, it could be whatever it wanted to be, it will just reproject onto the texture. I would not have to redo anything, and it's just an awesome way to work. Really, really, really cool, and it saves us lots of time. Sculpting tools. Houdini is ZBrush Lite or whatever. It is not ZBrush, but it has all the sculpting. It has your day-to-day sculpting tools built in. It's not that I stopped using ZBrush, but now I seldomly go to ZBrush to do basic sculpting stuff. So this is me yesterday or yesternight doing some modifications to the witch so that you could see how it works. And for just shaping a character, for taking the blend shapes that you already derived from the universal mesh or whichever mesh that you have, it is very good at just moving stuff around. It lacks a feature which is called topological brush right now, but it's coming for 21, I've been told. So really looking forward to that. So, but all these tools here now make, well, at least for me, does that I can do whatever I want to do in Houdini. Whatever I was used to do with sculpting, making characters, making all sorts of stuff, I now can do it in Houdini from scratch. And it's so awesome to be able to use the proceduralism that is there and at some point disconnect the proceduralism and do some sculpting and do some fine-tuning on whatever, and then your project is done. So that was the model part. Now it's the rig. We use KineFEST for all that it's worth. The procedural approach for it offers an extremely flexibility to do whatever you want. And if you watch the videos that will come out from yesterday, you will see that it's awesome. And the same concept applies here. One rig to rule them all. The same thing as the universal mesh. And that, by using this concept that I'm going to show you, I can then publish a character to Unity, Unreal, or Apex at the same time. And then I am free to animate in whatever medium the client wants. I can, if the client says, I want to do this, I want to interact with this, can we take it from interactive this to something offline, render that? Yes, of course. It's no problem. It's Houdini, and Houdini is awesome. The greatest things about KineFEST is that a point is a joint. And that is one of the best concepts ever invented. And the guy who made KineFEST, I don't know what kind of genius that was, but I'm not sure if I owe him my life, but I'm very grateful. It is such a cool concept, and I'm going to show you a bit about how it works with Universal Mesh and the things that we do. So, there's the character, it's been modeled, everything is done. You will blast everything but the head, start with the head. And then you select an edge, and from that edge, use a node which is called extract centroid. And there you have a joint. And you give that joint a name, and then suddenly that joint there will be able to be, that point will be able to be a joint. And you do that for all the stuff that you have in your character. Your arm, your legs, your spine, and all the joints are created from an extraction of a point on your model. Fingers, everything. So what happens then is that you get this skeleton here. Basic skeleton, everything is good. And you can now rig your character. What's great about this is that, let me just do a bit further, yes. The client says, but hey, I want some modifications on this, on the proportions of the head. I don't like the length of the neck. I want it to be longer. Okay. Oof, that would have been a problem 3 years ago. A huge problem. An enormous problem. But with this method, what happens now is that I do my modifications, I do my soft transforms, do whatever, and what happens now is that because of the extractions and the point is a joint, everything just follows. So now it is suddenly easy to do these things. It's not that it's super ultra quick, but it's so much easier. So when the client comes and wants changes, you don't die. You don't die inside. The weekend is now still open, and you can still go home for supper at 4 or 5 at the afternoon, and it's just a different ball game. Such a different ball game. So, but what about if you have something else which isn't a universal mesh, which it isn't, has the same proportions or whatever? Well, then you just have to do the extractions anew again to that character or to that show or to another universal mesh that you might have. But still, the concepts apply. And it's a genius concept, which is the side effects people can let us do. So I was talking about the way to generate Unity, Unreal, and Apex stuff. And how do you do that? So what we do, this is the Unreal method. First, we take Manny, one of the Unreal characters. We import it into Houdini, and we extract the skeleton. And then we take that skeleton, and we take our point as a joint skeleton, which is actually based on a standard Unity skeleton. So we have that like on the fly. That's the first thing that we generate. Then we take that and we remap the position of the Unreal skeleton to the first skeleton, which was the Unity skeleton. And then it can be remapped to any given character. And Apex 2. So there you have it. Now you can rig for 3 different venues, 3 different outputs, real time, non-real time, whatever. You can't do this anywhere else in the same context, which is you can do here. It's incredibly powerful. Skinning, yeah, procedural skinning, layers, attribute paints, and attribute transfer. One of the things that really surprised me when I started skinning with Houdini was how incredibly good it is by default. Really, really, really good. Fingers, the entire body, everything just works. Everything works as you would expect it to do. There's nothing weird happening if you move the arm up and down in another program, not to be mentioned. You will have many fatal issues with the ribs and the spine that gets broken in 0.1 second. But with the skinning, which Houdini provides, never does that. And one of the other cool things also is that you take the body and you skin that, and when you have that skinned and you feel everything is nice, you take the skinning that you have and you transfer it over to the rest of the things that is on the body. And it raises it in such a way that the geometry almost never penetrates. So if you have a piece of clothing and it's just a bit on top, in other software, it will go through, it will make havoc, it will make your life miserable. But with Houdini, it just works. And here you see some examples of some extra skinning, which has to be done because of jaws and whatnot. But either way, you go back and forth, adjust some skinning, and then you have some bit more adjusted skinning, and then you transfer it to another object, and so on and on and on. It's really powerful, and one other thing also about the attribute transfer is that if you need to remodel something, if you need to break your universal mesh or do whatever, you can just keep that universal mesh as your base and then transfer the skinning to your new mesh, and it'll probably just be fine. So, tools for checking skinning through KineFEST. So, using this procedure, I have some nodes, rig post nodes in Houdini, where I animate all the different parts to check for skinning issues. Here there are some, but this is how I do it. I'll just go through everything, just move everything to just see, and then afterwards go in and skin the different parts, and off you go. This rest here is a bit difficult though, but yeah, that's how it is. But then you can easily check whatever character. And the same thing here, if there's one of the other characters that you saw, this here has the universal or the Unreal rig. Many of the characters that you saw in front had the same rig, so I could just go through those and do the same thing with them there too. So, rigging and skinning is suddenly easy. The rig adapts to the model, the skinning adapts to the model, the transfer of skinning from the body to the cloth works flawlessly, and it's so much easier to keep the client happy and the workload under control. And that is what it's all about, and that is also why I am so excited about Houdini, because it makes my life so much easier, and so much more exciting. So it's an artist-driven workflow. You don't need programming skills to get around building these things. It is just nodes. It's truth with some modifications, but but more or less. 99% of it is nodes and some vex you can copy from somewhere. But it isn't as hard as you would expect it to be, even though I have never felt as dumb in my entire life. When I started to learn Houdini, it was a pain. It was so many concepts that I didn't understand, but luckily I went through it, and I've never been happier in my life having having learned this, because it's awesome. So for now, we do since we have had a focus on Unreal at our place, we do it through Houdini and Unreal. So I just wanted to show some of the first ventures with Houdini and Unreal. This is something that I made when I was at Unreal Masterclass something, and we were supposed to learn Unreal at the same time as we were supposed to animate this. So it was 3 weeks with going from understanding nothing to making this foolishness. But still, it was a proof of concept that showed that Houdini and Unreal was talking very good together. So I'm now going to show you 3 commercials that we did for Brilland, which is a glass company in Norway. So and all the things that you see is Houdini, and it's animated in Unreal. So. There it is, yes. There's no sound though, but just simple stuff, but fun to make. So, control rig in Unreal. Control rig in Unreal is procedural, like Houdini. So when we do some modifications of the joints and all those things, the control rig within within Unreal will just move all the controls to wherever the joints are going to be. So it's procedural like Houdini. And it's the same with the face rig and the blend shapes. So if you have another character, you can just make one rig to rule them all. It's the same, more or less the same thing with Apex, but I think that Apex is a bit more interesting for my part, but this is what we're doing now. So, this is just how it looks like in Unreal. This is real time. This is screen recording. So what is very nice about it is that you get all the lighting, you get all the textures, you get all the things. You don't need to render, and everything is just real time. So making small projects in Unreal, I was in conjunction with Houdini, is very nice. It has some limitations, but for certain things, it's very good. Yeah, this is just for the facial rig. I have some. I'm gonna pull into something soon, hopefully. Yeah. And this is what we send to the client, which is the client then can improve. And this is something else than your standard grayscale, whatever you're used to. It is properly lit. It has hair. Everything moves. it smiles or it's scary or whatever. It is just something different. So, for the future, we wish to expand further into KineFEST using the Apex framework for animation. It's the future, I think. I want to be able to do animation within Houdini and then perhaps transfer it to Unreal, all depending on what the client wants. But the Apex architecture is so interesting that not using it will be dumb, I think. So that is what the next venture is. And this is what some famous shoe company says, and I'm going to say the same thing. It's just do it. Start using Houdini for your character work. You will embark on one of the most challenging yet rewarding software journeys of your career. But it's an incredible tool, and I guarantee you the investment will be more than worth it. Learning it will be difficult, but it will be amazing. And when you kind of grasp it or you master it or whatever, if you ever do that, you will feel like Einstein. And it's the best feeling in the world. When you don't understand nothing, you go from being a total idiot, and then you're like the master of the universe. And that is the feeling that Houdini gives you, and it rewards you. And it's amazing for character work. And I just want everyone to jump on the train. It says choo-choo, and you're welcome to join. So thanks for having me. It's been a blast. It's been one of the coolest days that I had for a long time. It's been super nerdy and super cool, and met tons of cool people, very talented people, and it's been an awesome experience, and I love it. So that's it. Q&A. Yeah. Oh yeah, I don't know where it is.
Okay. Any questions? Yeah.
First of all, congratulations. That's really nice to see. I'm a modeler, so seeing this is really exciting. And do you think like side effects is planning to release like a universal mesh that other modelers can work on top and do the same flexibility that you have?
The side effects don't need to do that, because and I can tell you why. Because like if you use like DAS or Character Creator 4 or something similar, they all have like universal meshes for bipeds. So this one here we made it several years ago. We use it in all our productions. We make modifications for them because sometimes we may have animals and they need to have ears here, and things has to be moved, so you have to make a new universal mesh. But DAS or Character Creator 4 has universal meshes, which you can use as an FBX to apply this concept to, if you wish. So and that will work fine. And we're doing this project now with Character Creator 4 with someone, and that also spits out all the blend shapes that you not all, but most of them, so that you can do you can reuse them, and you can use them in Unreal, or you can use them in Karma or Apex or whatever. You're free to do whatever you want. So the side effects don't need to do it. It's already there.
That's amazing. Yeah, and I understand that it's not that when we compare with Houdini and sculpting tools is different, but with the adding the flexibility of texture inside, we can do a lot of details that we don't need to do it really in 3D. And it's like there's normal maps or whatever you can use, and that's really exciting. That's really nice.
Yeah, Cops is very, very exciting. It's so cool that I can model and the texture just reorients itself based upon what I just did. And Cops is super exciting. It is. Yeah.
Thank you.
There's also procedural characters on Side Effects content library. And we'll be adding to that content library, especially on the character side. There's a bunch of educational projects that we're working on this year that will all be sort of rolled into that content library in terms of the character assets.
Yeah, first, congratulations. It was amazing. Amazing presentation, amazing work. Very talented. Do you do your retopo inside Houdini, or you go out to ZBrush, do some retopo and come back to Houdini?
No, now I do it in Houdini.
So
I used to read retopology.
Retopology of Houdini.
Yes, it's a bit different than what you're used to, but when it's the same thing with every concept within Houdini, just brute force your way through it, and you'll be as happy as a button afterwards. So so that is my my advice for you for that. So I used the retopology.
Nice.
Yeah.
And last question, you use Houdini engine to migrate the rigs towards?
No. It's just I save it out as FBX, and I have a recipe for generating the hair for Unreal, so that they pass through with all the attributes and whatnot. So I save an FBX and I save an Alembic, and it all merges into Unreal.
But if you want to export controls for the rigging system in Unreal,
yeah, but then I just you can save the control rig. The control rig within Unreal is just like a separate file.
Nice.
So then you can reuse that the same way that you would do with Apex. Okay. You can't have tags there. It's not that intelligent, but if you have like the same, it looks for the bones with the same names, and if the same names are there, the controls would just click on, and you will be able to be ready, set, go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Thanks for that presentation, and really awesome to see what you're doing with animation and rigging in Houdini, and your enthusiasm that I think we are sharing. So when will you, when do you think the rest of the productions at Qvisten will see the light that you have seen with the rigging animation?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think there are tons of people at Qvisten who sees the light about doing these things, but there's one other thing that with the feature production is that the feature production is also a heavily invested 30 years something, which is very well run, and they do an amazing job of just shuffling out the animated features one by one. But what I can tell you is that Houdini is more and more taking over the production of our movies. We've been using USD for quite a long time. Raimond Kreppene, one of the TDs at our place, has been pushing that into Maya, making its own interpreter for that. But for the last 2.5 shows or something, we've been converting every USD thing that we have into Houdini and Solaris. Now we render everything in Solaris now. So we have one upcoming feature animated film. Everything is Solaris, everything is Karma. And if I go to talk to the lighters there about what a life they now have, they are in AVE about how good it is. It is not perfect. It's nothing that is perfect, but it's really, really good. And they really, really enjoy the process. And the look dev is also something that is now done in Houdini. So it's just a matter of getting the first bets into perhaps the things that I show. But it's a matter of investing, yeah, and it will perhaps take a bit of time. Yeah, but I totally agree. I want everyone to be on this train. So,
oh, that's great to hear. I just want to add also that I think Qvisten is an awesome studio, and the best people. Everybody is so nice, and I'm thoroughly impressed with how many feature films you're able to get out the door.
Yeah,
It's really incredible.
Yeah, it's quite awesome, actually. It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you talked about doing most of it procedurally, but at some point you add some hand work like sculpting and stuff that is not procedural to that chain of nodes. How do you organize that, or like how does that work if you then have to do iterations? Like how much rework is it in updating the manual work, or does that come along for the ride, or how do you organize that if someone has to take over the scene, or do you just keep it in memory? It's like, oh, that node, that breaks if we do these things upstream. Do you have any strategies for working around that?
Well, yes. At some time the proceduralism breaks, absolutely. And if I do a sculpt and there for some reason I have to revisit something upstream, I almost always remember where it is, or I can just click through the nodes and Houdini will show you where you are. And that is also one of the great things about it. But for like sculpting issues and those kind of things, I used to do a lot of point deforming based upon perhaps some proceduralism that needs to happen before, so that then I can add that to the already sculpted thing. So that will be an additive something to that. So So yes, you break it, but still Houdini lets you fix it. Yeah.
Anyone else? Awesome. Thanks very much, Roy. Great work.
Thank you.